Polygamy, polyamory, exchange marriages, capture, and abduction. These are just some of the shocking ways our prehistoric ancestors got married. We don't know much about marriage in ancient times because there aren't any written records. But archaeological study has revealed some interesting and thought-provoking facts. Watch until the end to learn more about the shocking and interesting details of how people got married in the past. Marriage as a legal entity may have originated at some point. Although we don't know when individuals began getting married, there is evidence that committed partnerships and pair bonding have existed for a long time. These connections may not have been marriage in the contemporary sense, but individuals made social and sexual attachments in the past. These exchanges would have varied greatly in various civilizations and eras. The idea of an organized marriage as we know it today is not well recorded when it comes to marriage in the Paleolithic Era, but there is proof that early Homo humans formed long-term bonds with each other and worked together as a group. Most likely, these connections were very important for small hunter-gatherer groups to stay alive, divide up work, and raise their children. Socially and personally, it is difficult to pinpoint the precise workings of these relationships, but there is evidence that men and women assist one another, collaborate, and share responsibilities. According to anthropologists, love ties the family, and a desire to survive are likely the driving forces for the formation of these alliances. Graves where many persons were buried together are strong evidence of long-lasting bonds among Paleolithic people. Interment in these burial grounds of people of varied ages and genders typically implies that their relationship was more than just a deathbed companionship. According to these findings, individuals in committed long-term relationships are truthful and emotionally invested in one another. Also, studies of Paleolithic art, like rock drawings and carvings, have shown images of couples doing loving and private things together. These works of art make it seem like there were emotional ties and relationships that went beyond sexual experiences. The appearance of shared living areas like caves or homes that show signs of being lived in for a long time shows that there are stable partnerships. People who live in these situations have to be committed to working together. It's crucial to keep in mind that humans in the Paleolithic period were nomadic, which means that hunter-gatherers would often travel about in quest of food. The brief duration of their presence might have altered the dynamics of relationships. Long-term pair relationships could have been more flexible and less rigid in this environment than they were in later, more stable cultures. The Mesolithic Era, commonly known as the Middle Stone Age, followed the Paleolithic Era. It took place between 10,000 and 4,000 BCE. People continued to transition throughout this period from hunter-gatherer communities to more established ones. They achieved this by creating stable settlements, domesticating animals, and cultivating crops. There isn't a lot of information about marriage in the Mesolithic Era, but there are signs that social and relationship patterns were changing. People likely started to think about marriage in different ways as they moved into groups and built more complicated societies. Archaeological data shows that family ties and social connections were very important in Mesolithic societies. Marriage or some other kind of long-term relationship may have been set up to strengthen ties between groups, encourage unity, and keep society together. People in these partnerships probably shared duties like taking care of kids, handling resources, and making the town a better place generally. Burial sites are a big piece of proof that people bonded with each other for a long time during the Mesolithic period. Like in the Paleolithic Era, people were often buried together during this time, which suggests that they had a tie that went beyond death. These burials show that people had solid relationships and mental ties with each other. Mesolithic archeological sites show that people lived in communities with shared living areas and common buildings. This shows that they were more settled than the wandering hunter-gatherer societies of the Paleolithic. These shared living areas suggest long-term relationships and the growth of groups that will last longer. Setting up settled communities probably paved the way for the growth of more organized social structures, such as marriage and other long-term ways for two people to bond. Significant developments in human civilization, such as the emergence of agriculture, the taming of animals, and the construction of permanent settlements, define the Neolithic era, often referred to as the New Stone Age. As these things changed, so did social systems and the ways that people got married and raised their families. During the Neolithic era, marriage became a more formalized institution compared to previous eras. The transition from nomadic lifestyles to settled agricultural communities led to the establishment of rules and norms governing marriage and family relationships. Marriage became an important social and economic unit within these communities, serving purposes such as creating alliances between families, regulating inheritance, and ensuring the continuation of lineages. Evidence suggests that marriage in the Neolithic era was often marked by ceremonies and rituals, including exchanges of gifts or dowries between families. These rituals served to formalize the union and strengthen social ties between the families involved. In addition to romantic passion, practical factors like social standing, financial security, and the capacity to support the survival and development of the society also played a role in marriage decisions. Excavated complex burial sites provide important evidence for long-term couple bonding and marriage throughout the Neolithic period. These burials often show individuals buried together in a manner that suggests a close and enduring relationship. Grave goods, such as personal belongings or symbolic items, are frequently found in these burials, indicating the presence of rituals and the significance of the union between individuals. Furthermore, the development of permanent settlements during the Neolithic era provided the foundation for more stable relationships and the formation of family units. Archeological evidence reveals the existence of shared living spaces such as houses or dwellings that were likely occupied by couples or families. The presence of shared domestic spaces implies long-term partnerships and the establishment of more structured familial units. The emergence of agriculture and animal domestication in the Neolithic era also played a significant role in shaping marriage practices. The shift from a nomadic lifestyle to settled farming communities necessitated the division of labor and the need for property rights. Marriage became a means of establishing and maintaining social and economic alliances, as well as passing down land and resources through generations. These factors contributed to the development of marriage as a formalized institution, with rules and expectations regarding fidelity, inheritance, and social status. Neolithic art and items also show that people stayed together and married for a long time. Cave paintings, ceramics, and other creative depictions often show couples doing household chores like farming, cooking, or raising children. These portrayals highlight the value of friendship, teamwork, and forming enduring relationships. Women usually took care of housework and raising children, while men were responsible for farming, hunting, and defense in Neolithic marriages. It is also important to note that certain Neolithic tribes engage in polygamy, which is the practice of a man having many wives. This was often linked to elements like income, social standing, and the desire to preserve ancestral lines. Throughout the Copper, Bronze, and Iron Ages, marriage contributed to the development of human civilization and culture. These eras were characterized by the development of city-states, the establishment of sophisticated civilizations, and advances in metallurgy. The emergence of more organized social institutions and the growth of marital customs followed these changes. The fact that marriage contracts and other formal papers are still around is a strong sign of long-term relationships and marriage in these times. Older societies like Mesopotamia and Egypt have written records that provide extensive descriptions of dowries, marriage contracts, and marital rights and obligations. These legal papers show how marriage has been formally recognized and how norms and duties have been established for it. Furthermore, throughout these times, marriage customs were greatly influenced by the growth and diffusion of organized faiths. Religious writings like the Bible, the Vedas, and the Code of Hammurabi often discuss marriage and provide guidelines for cohabitation. These religious scriptures, which placed a strong emphasis on loyalty, reproduction, and the maintenance of social order, offered moral and legal foundations for marriage. Archeological evidence, including grave goods and burial customs, also provides insight into marriage practices during the Copper Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age. Burial sites often include individuals buried together, suggesting long-term partnerships and the recognition of the bond between spouses, even in death. The presence of grave goods, such as jewelry or personal items, further indicates the importance of marriage as a social institution. Additionally, depictions in ancient art and artifacts from these periods provide further evidence of long-term pair bonding and marriage. Sculptures, pottery, and paintings often portray couples engaged in various activities, symbolizing the importance of companionship and partnership in daily life. These artistic representations highlight the social and emotional significance of marriage during these ages. Back in those days, marriage often had more than one reason. It helped to keep power together, pass down wealth and property, build relationships between families or groups, and keep bloodlines going. Marriages were not simply based on romantic love, but also on practical concerns such as social rank, income, and the desire to preserve or improve one's place in society. During the Copper Age, Bronze Age, and Iron Age, marriage ceremonies and rituals became more elaborate. These ceremonies were important social events, often involving the exchange of gifts, dowries, or bride prices between families. Religious or cultural customs and traditions played a significant role in shaping the marriage rituals of this time. These rituals were not only meant to formalize the union, but also to invoke blessings from deities or ancestors to ensure a prosperous marriage and future for the couple. During these times, social norms and legal frameworks were often established in tandem with marriages to control property rights, inheritance, and marital relationships. In some communities, polygamy, having more than one wife, was common, especially among the governing or aristocratic classes. But in the broader community, monogamy, one man married to one woman, was more prevalent. During these times, gender responsibilities within marriages were usually specified, with males taking on tasks linked to defense, leadership, and economic provision, and women managing the home, bearing and raising children, and maintaining social and family ties. It is essential to remember that our knowledge of ancient marriage is based on conjecture and interpretations of little archaeological data. It is difficult to draw broad conclusions regarding marriage customs from many historical eras and geographical areas due to the subtleties and complexity of ancient cultures.